we won't be too long more. Okay, our next speaker will be Joan Collin TD. She's a tireless defender of the lower paid and fighter for workers' rights.
Thanks very much, Michael. The first thing I'd like to say is a big thank you to the Inchicore and Kilmainham Heritage Group for organising this plaque to commemorate the giants of men in Irish working class history, like Michael Mallin, Jim Larkin, Carroll and William Partridge. Inchicore has a rich history of a militant and strong trade union activity. I remember around the Pat Baker strike about 20 years ago up in Ballyfermot. As part of that campaign, we were canvassing around Ring Street and New Street and Partridge Terrace, which is named after William Partridge, to organise a boycott against the products of Pat the Baker. And it was really interesting to talk to people at the doorsteps, particularly people who had that generation or just second generation contact with the big strikes in Inchicore works. And they were literally telling me, don't knock on that number door down there because that's the Scab's daughter or the Scab's son from the strikes. So it's a very important heritage in this community in relation to it. Emmet Hall was a hive of activity both socially and culturally, and hive of activity for the Irish Transport and General Workers Union. And these men, and I want to make a particular point, the women beside these men played a huge role in relation to the trade union movement at that time. They put their lives in a limb. They put their lives out in a limb and their families' lives out in a limb for what they believed in. They wore their principles on their sleeves. It is a pity that a lot more is not known about William Partridge. I know Hugh Geraghty, see the book in Eamon's hand there, has played a brilliant role in putting out his history and what his life was, and also Joseph in his own book deals with part of William Partridge's life, because he was the most prominent leader after James Connolly and Jim Larkin as regards the Great Lockout of 1913, and played a key role in that, and played a leading role in the Irish Citizens' Army. As a Dublin City Council councillor, he campaigned vigorously for housing. I think it was the housing in the Bremy own area in Ring Street there, all that area, where he campaigned to have bigger bedrooms, indoor toilets, things like that that people actually needed at the time. Unfortunately, we didn't get them when they were built. But he's also campaigned vigorously for education in the community and culture in the community as well. He was actually sacked from Inchicore Works for exposing the fact that highlight the fact that discrimination in the appointment of supervisors in Inchicore Works. His death in 1917, his premature death in 1917, I think was a great loss to the movement of that future. I think he might not just be a bit surprised, and I'd say he would be very angry at the same time at the lack of opposition from the official trade union movement against the austerity that's been imposed on people of this country who had no hand, act or part to play in the crisis that we're facing, and who are in effect the wealthy that caused this crisis are still walking around the streets of this city and this country not being challenged at all in any shape or form. And I think he would also be very angry at the lack and the failure of the Irish Council of Trade Unions to lead an effective opposition to this austerity. Hopefully the commitment of these men and women and their heroic activities will be etched in the memories of this generation and future generations through events like this, and that's why I really think it's great that the Heritage Group has organised it. And again, once again, congratulate the group and thank you for inviting me and organising this event. Thank you very much.